we're pre-recording this, and we're just gonna have a general conversation on how to catch a cheater, and we'll just have some fun with it.
Sure.
Sound good?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're pre-recording this, so that makes our lives easy, because once we edit it and air it tomorrow, it'll sound perfect. So if we make a mistake, feel free to correct us, and if you make a mistake, just correct yourself, and we'll make sure once it's edited, it's all put together.
All right, let's rock and roll. Here we go.
All right, deal.
How to catch a cheater. If you think that your significant other is cheating, what are the surefire ways to find out for sure? What are the surefire ways to find out? Investigator Ranno is from Ranno Investigative Services. Investigator Ranno, how many cheaters do you see in a week?
Usually at my caseload, because I'm a single person investigative agency, I'm doing 2 or 3 cases a week for the infidelity alone.
Wow. So, what is the basis of most of your business? Because I think that when we think about it, people, they think about investigators as basically it's cheating or it's some sort of big heist or whatever, but the bulk of your cases are largely what?
I do a lot of insurance fraud surveillance. We conduct investigations. The guy goes fully out on workers' comp, says he can't get off the couch. The next thing I follow him around, surveillance, and I get him on, putting a new roof on his house, something like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Always a good choice.
Yeah.
Right? When you're on comp, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or carrying the trash out over his shoulder or whatever.
Absolutely.
Basically.
Anything that goes against the restrictions that his doctor provides, we look for that, and we just videotape everything that he does. That's it.
One of my husband's friends hired a PI to prove that his ex-wife, had his new boyfriend move in. And because the private investigator did that, it was a violation of the alimony, and he didn't have to pay alimony anymore.
That's called a cohabitation investigation. We do those all the time.
Interesting.
No kidding.
Okay, so if you think that your significant other is cheating, are there surefire ways that you can find out, things that you can do?
There's things that people themselves can do, and there's things, of course, when you hire me. But the number one key is, if anybody thinks that their spouse is cheating, as hard as it may be, because obviously you're personally invested in this relationship, is to not confront them. Because once you confront them, they're going to either change their behaviors, they're going to modify what they're doing, they're going to break up with the person they're seeing, whatever the case may be. Now it's going to be either more difficult or impossible to determine if they were ever cheating in the past or currently. So the best thing to do is try to hold it in, call a private detective, and we'll get the information for you. We'll get the evidence that you need. If you want to do it yourself, there's things you can do. You can, check their Google Maps timeline if you can get into it without hacking illegally into it. If you have access to the phone records for cell phones, you want to check your spouse's cell phone record. The best times are when they leave for work, so that drive to work when they're alone in the car, and the drive home. That's the time when they have the most secrecy while they're on their cell phone. That's when they make their infidelity calls back and forth. Obviously, people can rent their own GPS tracker or purchase their own GPS tracker to put on their car. Make sure you follow the laws within your state, because here in Connecticut, the laws have changed. So it's very stringent on how you can and can't do it. If you have access to your spouse's email, check the trash, because a lot of times they delete it, but they don't delete the trash. So you might find something in there. So there's a lot of things that the people can do. The biggest thing that people end up catching their spouse on their own is because people don't realize with electronics that your iPads are connected to your cell phone. So here you are texting with someone. Next thing you know, that the iPad is on the coffee table, and bloop, bloop, there goes the text. The wife or husband sees it, and they're caught.
This is fascinating to me because you've got all this great technology, but at the heart of it, you've still got classic investigative techniques, because you're talking about human nature. When people are likely to make that phone call, when they're likely to get and receive that text message, that's personal to somebody else. And I find that very fascinating.
Absolutely true. And regardless of how you catch electronically text message, there's nothing better evidentiary-wise than me videotaping them hugging and kissing in the parking lot or fooling around in the car at 3 o'clock in the morning after they go to a bar together. It's just solid evidence that you can't argue in court, because video is almost indisputable.
So let's just get into that for a minute, because like you said, as far as tracking goes, and when it comes to divorce and settlements, that type of thing, every state has different laws, right? So some states, it's a no-fault state, right? So it doesn't matter. No matter what happens in the divorce, it's going to be 50-50. Am I correct? There's no point of this evidence for that.
Yeah, it's a common argument that I hear. But here's the thing. Think of it this way, in reverse. If you have a spouse, you have 3 kids, you have an investment property plus the home you're living in, you both have retirements, 401ks. A lot of people are paranoid and wrong about they're suspecting the infidelity of their spouse. So in order for you to make that big of a life decision where you're destroying your family, you need proof. You need solid evidence. Otherwise, if you're wrong, you destroy everything. So don't worry about what happens on the back end of it. Make your decision to break up your family based on solid evidence and not just speculation, innuendo, or paranoia.
Okay.
No, that's solid. That's good advice.
Investigator Ranno, when you find a cheater and you've got those pictures, do you do the thing where you show up with the manila envelope and you hand it over and they're in the envelope and you say, here you go?
No,
that thing?
no, that's like the show Cheaters back in the day. That's actually would be illegal here in Connecticut. That would be a form of harassment, and I would end up being arrested and lose my license for it. No, what I do is I gain the evidence. I call the client in after I prepare the full report, duplicate the video for them on a thumb drive, and then they'll come in. I'll show them the video. They'll break down in the office sometimes, and then they walk away with a package with the report and everything in it. And then if they need a copy for their attorney, I give them the one too. And if they want a third copy so they can send it to their spouse's parents, then I'll make it for them too.
Well, he'll do that for free of charge.
Yeah, that's
right?
fun.
After
That's
they cry
fun.
there in the office.
Yeah.
When you do that, how often do the clients say, I don't need to see it, I just needed to know?
Occasionally, it happens, but regardless, per state statute for my licensing, everybody needs a report and an invoice for any investigation that I do. So I'll still type the report, invoice, and everything. And if they don't want it, I leave it in the folder in case 3 months from now their attorney decides he wants it, and now all of a sudden I have to produce it from memory. We don't want to do that. We want to do it while it's fresh.
What percentage of people hire you and it turns out their significant other is not cheating?
It's a low percentage, but it does happen. And I only say it's low because by the time you've gone through all the emotions of what you're feeling, enough to where you want to call someone like me, you're pretty sure that something's wrong. You don't know exactly with who, you don't know exactly how they're getting away with it, but you just feel that something's not right. So by the time you get to me, you're pretty sure. So out of the 100 people, let's say, that come to me, maybe 2 or 3, they're just absolutely not cheating. Another 10%, they're either cheating sporadically, like they'll see somebody once every 3 weeks, or they'll go to the bar on Friday night with their friends, and if they get lucky, they cheat. If they don't have a significant other on the side where they have to maintain a relationship 2 or 3 days a week in order to keep that relationship, it's harder to catch. So if somebody comes to me with a minimal amount of budget for a retainer, we may not be there on the right day, so we didn't catch them cheating, but that doesn't mean they're not cheating.
And sometimes, they might not be cheating, but they're doing something else, Anna. They're doing something else that they're lying to their spouse about, right? Or they've got some hidden secrets or whatever that you're not going to be okay with.
Right. Well, I know a story of a woman that's terrible, but she thought he was cheating. No, he had a massive gambling problem that she knew nothing about.
Yeah,
That's what was uncovered.
Same thing. Spouse had a drinking problem, and it was, something that they were unaware of. Yeah.
It's wild.
It's exactly what I was going to say, because one of the biggest telltales, if you think your spouse is cheating, is that all of a sudden there are these mysterious ATM withdrawals from the bank account, and for cash purposes, obviously, so you spend it without any tracking. And a lot of times they do suspect that as being cheating, and then after I follow them, I do follow them to the casino, or I do find out that they do have a drug issue that they're using it for. So if it's that alone you're basing your suspicions on, it doesn't mean they're cheating. It just means they're doing something wrong.
It's fascinating. Investigator Ranno, Ranno Investigative Services. You can find them online at ctprivatedetective.com. Thank you so much.
No, pleasure. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Fascinating stuff, man.
Yeah, that
Thanks
was
for
really
the call.
great. Thank you. We appreciate you having you on. We'd love to have you on more, especially as we get closer to Valentine's Day, if that's okay. If we can have you on again.
Well, I can tell you right now, Valentine's Eve is the biggest night for private detectives, because that's when cheaters have to see their others for Valentine's Day. So, yeah, give me a call anytime.
Oh, perfect.
That's
Thank you so much. I love it. Thank you.
You got
Have a
it.
great day, man.
Take care.
All right. Bye.